Oh, fantastic. Another human transfer student at Galactic Academy Prime. Just what we needed to make our solar cycle complete, right? My name is Vex, and I am what you might call the unofficial chronicler of ridiculous events at this prestigious educational facility. 4 arms, purple exoskeleton, compound eyes that have seen way too much nonsense for one lifetime. Today's nonsense? Well, buckle up, because this one takes the antimatter cake. The new human kid walks into our xenobiology class like he owns the place. Small, maybe 12 standard years old, wearing these primitive fabric coverings humans call clothes. Brown hair sticking up in 17 different directions, carrying what appears to be a regulation pet carrier. Nothing unusual there, except for the sounds coming from inside that carrier. Sounds that made our usually fearless professor, Dr. Click, take 3 steps backward. Class, meet Jake Sullivan, announces Dr. Click, his 6 tentacles twitching nervously. He comes to us from Earth, and apparently has brought his emotional support animal? Jake grins. Actually grins. Kid has no idea what he has walked into. You see, our beloved institution has a bit of a problem. His name is Gornax the Terrible, though I prefer calling him 12 feet of bad attitude and sharp teeth. Gornax is from Predator Prime, weighs about 400 pounds, and has made it his personal mission to terrorize every non-carnivorous species in a 50-parsec radius. What is in the carrier, young human? Asks Dr. Click, apparently deciding that curiosity beats common sense today. Oh, this? Jake rattles the carrier gently. This is Buster. My emotional support honey badger. The entire class goes silent. Even the usually chatty methane breathers in the corner stop their incessant bubbling. Honey badger? Most of us have never heard of such a creature, but something about the way Jake says it, with that peculiar human mix of innocence and mischief, makes my exoskeleton tingle with anticipation. That is when Gornax decides to make his grand entrance. The door explodes open, because why would a 12-foot carnivore use the door handle like a civilized being? Gornax steps in, his massive frame blocking out half the artificial sunlight, razor-sharp claws clicking against the metal floor. His reptilian eyes scan the room until they land on Jake. Fresh meat, Gornax rumbles in that voice that sounds like grinding continental plates. How delightfully small. Dr. Click immediately begins backing toward the emergency comm panel. Smart move, Professor. The rest of us? Well, we have front row seats to what promises to be either the shortest or most interesting bullying attempt in academic history. Jake looks up at Gornax, tilts his head slightly, and says, "Oh, hi there. Nice to meet you too." Gornax blinks his massive yellow eyes. This is not the cowering response he typically receives. Students usually faint, cry, or attempt to phase shift through solid matter by this point. Jake, however, just stands there holding his pet carrier like he is waiting for a hover bus. You will give me your lunch credits, Gornax demands, leaning down until his massive head is level with Jake's. And your recreational time allocation. And probably your sleeping pod assignment, because I am feeling generous today. Sure thing, Jake replies cheerfully. Right after you meet Buster. Now, I have to admit, my translator implant might be malfunctioning, because I could swear Jake just agreed to hand over everything while simultaneously preparing to introduce his pet. The logical circuits in my brain are firing warning signals like a malfunctioning hyperdrive. Your pet? Gornax straightens up, clearly confused. What sort of pathetic Earth creature could possibly? That is when Jake opens the carrier, what emerges defies every law of physics, biology, and common decency I thought I understood. It is about the size of a small dog, covered in dark fur, with beady little eyes and what can only be described as the most aggressively unimpressed expression I have ever witnessed on any life form. Buster the honey badger looks around the classroom, takes in the massive predator looming overhead, and his response, he yawns, actually yawns. Gornax stares down at this tiny Earth creature, clearly expecting some sort of cowering or submission display. Instead, Buster sits down, begins grooming his paw, and looks about as concerned as a neutron star looks about a gentle breeze. This, Gornax announces with barely contained rage, is your emotional support animal? This fuzzy little Buster stops grooming and looks directly at Gornax. The temperature in the room seems to drop several degrees. Dr. Click has now reached the emergency panel and is hovering one tentacle over the massive predator loose in classroom alert button. The rest of us are holding whatever passes for breath in our respective species, because something in Buster's eyes has changed. Something primal and utterly terrifying that makes every survival instinct in the room start screaming warnings. This little Earth creature, no bigger than Gornax's foot, is radiating an energy that roughly translates to, I have absolutely zero interest in your intimidation tactics, and if you continue this conversation, you are going to discover exactly why my species earned the nickname nature's most unreasonable animal. Gornax, to his credit, seems to sense this shift in atmospheric pressure. His massive head tilts slightly, and for the first time since I have known him, uncertainty flickers across his reptilian features. What happens next will forever be burned into my memory banks like a supernova explosion recorded in slow motion. Gornax, clearly deciding that backing down from a creature 1/20th his size would damage his carefully cultivated reputation, makes the mistake of reaching toward Jake with one massive claw. Not to hurt him, mind you. Just to grab him by the shirt and demonstrate proper predator-prey dynamics. That is when Buster decides to provide a practical demonstration of Earth biology. The honey badger moves like liquid lightning wrapped in pure fury. One moment he is sitting peacefully beside Jake, the next moment he is airborne, all four paws extended, heading directly for Gornax's enormous snout with the focused intensity of a guided missile programmed for maximum chaos. "Oh dear," Jake says mildly, as if commenting on mildly inclement weather. "Buster does not like when people reach for me without permission." Gornax has approximately 0.3 seconds to process this information before 60 pounds of concentrated Earth attitude collides with his face. What follows can only be described as educational, in the same way that volcanic eruptions are educational about geological processes. Buster latches onto Gornax's snout with the tenacity of a gravitational field and begins demonstrating why his species is famous for taking on creatures 50 times their size and winning through sheer, unreasonable stubbornness. "Get it off!" Gornax roars, shaking his massive head like a malfunctioning asteroid processor. "Get this insane creature off my face!" Dr. Click finally hits the emergency button. Alarms start blaring throughout the facility, announcing to everyone within 3 sectors that we have a code orange, unidentified Earth creature causing mayhem situation in progress. But here is the beautiful part. The part that makes this story worth telling across the galaxy for generations to come. Buster is not just attacking randomly. Oh no. This little Earth creature has strategy. Every time Gornax tries to grab him with those massive claws, Buster repositions himself just out of reach, maintaining his grip on the predator's snout while somehow managing to look completely relaxed about the entire situation. "Buster, down," Jake calls out calmly. He gets the point now. And here is where things get really interesting. The honey badger, this tiny bundle of terrestrial violence, immediately releases Gornax and drops to the floor. Just like that. No gradual de-escalation, no prolonged victory dance. He simply obeys his human companion and sits down to resume grooming his paw as if nothing happened. Gornax stumbles backward, his snout sporting several new ventilation holes and his dignity lying in approximately 47 pieces scattered across the classroom floor. His massive eyes are wide with something I have never seen before in an apex predator, genuine respect mixed with healthy fear. "What?" he gasps, pressing one claw gingerly to his perforated snout. "What in the 7 hells of Predator Prime is that thing?" Jake shrugs, the picture of human innocence. "Just a honey badger. They are pretty common on Earth." Buster here is actually quite gentle compared to wild ones. The wild ones have been known to chase off lions, steal food from hyena packs, and break into human settlements just because they were bored. The entire class is staring at this small human child like he just casually mentioned that his homeworld is populated by miniature gods of war disguised as fuzzy animals. "Lions," whispers Tal, a normally brave warrior caste from the Sigma Quadrant. "What are lions?" "Oh, big cats. About twice Gornax's size, with really impressive teeth and hunting instincts. Buster's cousin once fought off 3 of them because they got between him and a beehive he wanted." Jake reaches down to pet his emotional support animal, who purrs contentedly. Honey badgers do not really understand the concept of too dangerous to fight. Dr. Click's tentacles are frantically accessing the galactic database, cross-referencing Earth fauna. His color shifts from nervous purple to horrified chartreuse as he reads. According to this data, he announces shakily, honey badgers are classified by Earth scientists as having 0 natural predators and are noted for their complete disregard for personal safety when motivated. He looks at Jake with newfound respect. "Young human, your planet's wildlife appears to be composed entirely of unhinged combat specialists." "Oh, that is nothing," Jake grins. "You should see what our house cats can do." Buster here is scared of our neighbor's tabby. Gornax, meanwhile, has been backing slowly toward the door, his predator instincts finally overriding his pride. This 12-foot carnivore, terror of 3 star systems, is retreating from a creature that weighs less than his breakfast. I just remembered I have important business elsewhere," Gornax mumbles, reaching blindly for the door controls while keeping his eyes fixed on Buster, who has now begun investigating a particularly interesting spot on the floor. As Gornax flees, literally flees from our classroom, Jake calls after him cheerfully, "Nice meeting you. Buster and I look forward to being classmates." The door slides shut behind our former class bully, and silence descends upon the room like a blanket of pure, wonderful peace. Dr. Click clears his throat. "Well then. Shall we proceed with today's lesson on symbiotic relationships?" And that, my friends, is how a small human child and his emotional support honey badger permanently solved our Gornax problem, redefined our understanding of Earth biology, and taught us all an important lesson about judging species by their size. Buster yawned again and curled up for a nap, completely unaware that he had just become a legend.